For nearly a month, I saw the same man every night, always at the same vending machine, always around the same time. And somehow, nobody else seemed to think that was strange. This happened in 2022 when I worked as a respiratory therapist at a hospital outside Kansas City. My shifts usually ran from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. Long nights, minimal sleep, lots of caffeine. Like most hospital employees, I practically lived off vending machine snacks, especially around 2 or 3 in the morning. That's when exhaustion really hit. The vending machine sat at the far end of the third-floor hallway, near a rarely used waiting area. The location was quiet, almost isolated. Most staff preferred break rooms elsewhere in the building. I liked it because it was peaceful, at least initially. The first time I noticed the man, he was standing beside the soda machine. Middle-aged, dark jacket, short gray hair. Nothing unusual. I bought a drink. He nodded politely, and that was it. The interaction lasted maybe 10 seconds. Completely forgettable. Then I saw him again. The next night. Same vending machine. Same time. Same clothing. Again, I assumed nothing of it. Hospitals have regular visitors. Family members. Patients. Employees. People come and go constantly. The coincidence barely registered. Then came the third night. And the fourth. And the fifth. Within 2 weeks, I'd seen the man nearly every shift. Always around 2:30 a.m. Always standing beside the vending machine. The strange part wasn't his presence. It was his behavior. He never bought anything. Never used the machine. Never sat down. Never appeared to be waiting for anyone. He simply stood there, watching the hallway. One night I finally decided to talk to him, mostly out of curiosity. I joked that he spent more time near the vending machine than I did. The man smiled, then answered, "People eventually show up." The response felt odd, but not alarming. I laughed, bought my drink, and returned to work. Over the next week, however, something started bothering me. The man never moved, at least not much. Every time I encountered him, he seemed to be standing in almost the exact same location. The same corner, the same posture, the same expression. Eventually I asked several co-workers if they knew him. Nobody did, not a single person, which felt strange in a hospital where everybody seemed to know everybody. Then one evening, I asked a security officer. The officer looked confused, asked for a description. I provided one. The officer shook his head, then told me something that immediately made me uncomfortable. No visitors should have been on that floor after midnight. None. That answer stayed with me, because if the man wasn't staff, and wasn't visiting patients, why was he there every night? The following shift, I paid closer attention. Around 2:20 a.m., I headed toward the vending area. The hallway was empty. The machine stood alone. No sign of the man. For a moment, I actually felt relieved. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, measured. I turned around. The man stood at the far end of the hallway, watching. I have no idea where he'd come from. 1 second the corridor was empty. The next second he was there. I remember forcing a smile. The man didn't smile back. Instead he asked, "Working late again?" The question made my stomach tighten, because we'd never discussed my schedule. Yet somehow he seemed to know exactly when I worked. The conversation lasted less than a minute. Then he walked away, toward a stairwell. I watched him disappear through the door. Immediately afterward, I followed. The stairwell was empty, completely empty. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. At that point, I finally reported everything to security. Not because I felt threatened, because something didn't make sense. Security reviewed footage from the hallway, and what they found surprised everyone. The cameras repeatedly showed the man near the vending machine, night after night, exactly where I described. The problem was, nobody could identify him. No employee records, no visitor logs, nothing. Then investigators noticed something stranger. The man never appeared entering or leaving the building. Ever. Footage would show him walking down hallways, standing near the vending machine, moving through stairwells. But cameras never captured his arrival, never captured his departure. Eventually, hospital administration traced an old photograph from several years earlier. The image showed a former volunteer, a man who had spent considerable time assisting patients overnight. The resemblance was nearly identical. Same face, same hair, same build. The problem? According to records, the volunteer had passed away years before I started working there. Maybe it was a different person. a relative, a coincidence. That's the explanation I choose to believe. Because the alternative is harder to accept. The alternative means I spent nearly a month having conversations with someone nobody could identify. Someone who always appeared beside the vending machine, and somehow always knew when I'd be there. The first time it happened, I thought somebody forgot their change. The second time, I thought it was a coincidence. By the third time, I started checking the vending machine every night, because somebody kept leaving money inside it, and somehow, the amount always seemed intended for me. This happened in 2021. At the time, I worked overnight IT support inside a large office building in Phoenix, Arizona. My shift ran from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. Most employees left long before I arrived. By midnight, the building felt almost abandoned. Just security guards, cleaning crews, and a handful of people like me working strange hours. The vending machine sat on the 12th floor near a small employee lounge. Because the cafeteria closed early, the machine became a popular stop during overnight shifts. I visited it almost every night, usually around 1 a.m. The routine never changed, until the money started appearing. The first incident seemed harmless. I walked up to buy a soda and noticed 45 cents sitting in the machine's return slot. Quarters, nickels, dimes, nothing unusual. People forget change all the time. I used it toward my drink and moved on. No big deal. 2 nights later, I found more. This time exactly $1. Again, I assumed somebody forgot it. Lucky me. I bought a snack and returned to work. Simple. Except it kept happening. Night after night. Week after week. Eventually, the amounts became impossible to ignore. One night it was enough for a soda. Another night it matched the exact cost of chips. Another night it totaled the price of both. The money always appeared shortly before I arrived, and it always matched something I normally purchased. The pattern felt strange, but not frightening, at least not initially. Then one evening, I mentioned it to a coworker. The coworker laughed, then asked a question that immediately bothered me. "Which machine?" I pointed toward the lounge. The coworker's expression changed, because apparently, he'd found money there too. Lots of money, always overnight, always in the same machine, always shortly before his break. The coincidence suddenly felt less harmless. Over the next several days, I started paying closer attention. The machine sat beneath a security camera. Perfect. I figured footage would solve the mystery quickly. Some generous employee, some prank, something normal. Instead, things became stranger. Security reviewed recordings. Nobody appeared near the machine before the money showed up. Nobody inserted coins. Nobody approached. Nothing. One moment the return slot looked empty. The next moment it contained change. No explanation. No visible cause. Naturally, everyone assumed the machine was malfunctioning. That made sense. Until the note appeared. I arrived around 1 a.m. as usual. The hallway sat empty. The machine stood alone. Then I noticed a folded piece of paper tucked into the coin return slot. My stomach immediately tightened, because people don't accidentally leave notes inside vending machines. I unfolded it. Inside was a single handwritten sentence. "You look tired tonight." My blood ran cold, because I was exhausted. I'd worked nearly 12 hours the previous day. The lack of sleep showed. Coworkers had commented on it. But that wasn't what bothered me. The problem was timing. The note had been placed there shortly before I arrived, which meant somebody knew I was coming. I immediately reported the incident. Security reviewed footage again. Nothing. No person. No suspicious activity. No explanation. The hallway remained empty the entire time. Yet somehow the note appeared. For the next week, I avoided the machine completely. Different floor. Different vending area. Problem solved. Or so I thought. Then one night, while grabbing coffee from another lounge, I found another note. This time sitting beside the machine. The message read, "Wrong floor." At that point, genuine fear started replacing curiosity. Because whoever was doing this clearly knew my routine. And not just my routine, my changes to the routine. The following evening, I arrived at work determined to figure out what was happening. Instead of taking my normal break, I stayed hidden in a nearby conference room with a direct view of the machine. Midnight passed, then 12:30, then 1 a.m. Nothing happened. The hallway remained completely empty. No visitors. No employees. Nobody. Then I looked away for maybe 2 seconds. Just 2. When I looked back, the money was there. A pile of quarters, sitting inside the coin return slot. My heart immediately started racing, because nobody had approached. Nobody had entered the hallway. Yet somehow the money appeared. I walked toward the machine slowly. The coins totaled exactly $2.15. The exact amount required for the energy drink I purchased almost every shift. Not approximately. Exactly. Then I noticed something else. Another note, folded beneath the quarters. I opened it, and immediately felt sick, because the message wasn't generic anymore. It wasn't vague. It wasn't playful. The note read, "You should stop staying after 3 a.m. That sentence genuinely scared me. Not because it sounded threatening, because it sounded like advice. A warning. The kind of warning somebody gives when they know something you don't. I informed security again. This time, management became involved. The investigation expanded. Access logs, camera footage, employee interviews, everything. Eventually, they discovered something unexpected. Several years earlier, a maintenance contractor had reportedly used the same employee lounge during overnight renovations. According to co-workers who still worked there, he routinely left spare change in the vending machine for tired employees. A small gesture, nothing more. People remembered him because he did it constantly. The problem? The contractor hadn't worked in the building for years. Nobody ever solved the mystery. No culprit was identified. No prankster came forward. And eventually, the money stopped appearing, just as suddenly as it had begun. Years later, one detail still bothers me. Not the notes, not the coins, not even the cameras. It's the final message. Because after the warning, I actually stopped staying late. For almost a month. Then one night I worked past 3 a.m. again. The project required it. I didn't have a choice. As I left the building around 4:15 a.m., I passed the vending machine. For the first time in weeks, there was money in the return slot. 1 quarter. And a note. The note contained only 3 words. "Glad you're okay." I never found another note after that. And honestly, I stopped looking. The first time I noticed him, he was standing beside a vending machine. The second time, he was standing beside the same vending machine. The third time, I realized he was always there, day or night, weekday or weekend, rain or shine. And in all the time I saw him, he never bought a single thing. This happened in 2019. At the time, I worked overnight security at a large interstate bus terminal outside St. Louis. The station operated 24 hours a day. People came and went constantly. Travelers, truck drivers, college students, families, runaways, homeless individuals. Every kind of person imaginable passed through that building. Most stayed only a few minutes. Some stayed a few hours. Almost nobody stayed longer. Except him. The vending machine area sat near the rear of the terminal. 3 snack machines, 2 soda machines, several plastic tables, a few uncomfortable chairs. Nothing special. The location wasn't hidden, but it wasn't exactly busy either. Most travelers passed through quickly, which is why I eventually noticed the man. The first sighting happened around 2 a.m. He stood near the soda machine. Doc jacket, blue jeans, baseball cap, average height, average build. The kind of person you'd forget immediately. I barely paid attention. People stand around terminals all the time. No big deal. Then I saw him again. The next night. Same spot. Same machine. Same clothing. Again, I thought nothing of it, until several nights later when I saw him yet again. And again. And again. Eventually, the pattern became impossible to ignore. The man appeared almost every shift. Always near the vending machines. Always alone. Always watching people. Never eating. Never drinking. Never traveling. Just watching. One evening I checked terminal records. Mostly out of curiosity. No ticket purchases matched his description. No employee records. No vendor credentials. Nothing. As far as the terminal system was concerned, the man didn't belong there. Still, he wasn't causing problems. No complaints. No confrontations. No incidents. So nobody felt particularly concerned. At least initially. Then travelers started reporting strange encounters. One college student claimed the man followed him through the terminal. A woman reported being watched while waiting for a delayed bus. A truck driver complained that somebody kept observing him from different areas of the station. Each description matched the same individual, the vending machine guy. Yet every complaint lacked concrete evidence. Nobody could prove anything. Then something happened that changed everything. Around 1:30 a.m. one Tuesday morning, a young traveler approached the security desk looking visibly shaken. The guy couldn't have been older than 18, maybe 19. He explained that a stranger had spent nearly 20 minutes asking questions near the vending machines. Where he lived, where he was going, whether anyone expected him at his destination. The description immediately matched the man. Security officers searched the terminal, but by then he was gone, vanished. No sign of him anywhere. The situation resulted in an official report. Still, no real action could be taken. Not yet. Then the reports increased. Rapidly. Different travelers, different nights, same description, same behavior. The man seemed particularly interested in people traveling alone, especially younger passengers, especially those waiting overnight. At that point, management instructed security staff to monitor him more closely, which meant me. A few nights later, I finally got my opportunity. Around 3 a.m., I spotted him standing near the vending machines as usual. Instead of approaching immediately, I decided to observe. The next hour revealed something disturbing. The man never stopped watching people. Never. His eyes constantly tracked travelers, studying them, evaluating them, almost like he was waiting for something, or someone. Eventually, a young woman entered the vending area, traveling alone, early 20s. The man's posture changed immediately. He straightened, focused on her, then slowly began following. My stomach tightened instantly, because now I was seeing exactly what previous reports had described. The woman purchased a drink and walked away. The man followed. Not closely, not obviously, but definitely followed. I immediately moved after them. The situation unfolded across several sections of the terminal. Every time the woman changed direction, the man changed direction. Every time she stopped, he stopped. The pattern became impossible to deny. I intercepted him near a hallway leading toward restrooms. The conversation lasted less than a minute. The man remained polite, calm, cooperative, but something felt off. The entire interaction felt rehearsed, like he'd done it before, many times. When I informed him that security had received complaints, he smiled, then said something that still bothers me. He said, "People notice the wrong things." The statement made absolutely no sense, at least not then. Management eventually issued a trespass warning. The man left the terminal without argument. Problem solved. Or so we thought. 2 weeks later, he returned. Different clothes, different haircut, same face, same vending machine, same behavior. The moment I recognized him, security contacted police. This time officers arrived quickly, and unlike previous encounters, they decided to investigate more thoroughly. What they discovered disturbed everyone. The man had received multiple trespass warnings from transportation terminals across 3 different states. Bus stations, train stations, travel centers, rest areas, always similar complaints. Watching travelers, following individuals, loitering near vending areas and waiting rooms, never committing serious crimes, never staying long enough to be arrested, just enough behavior to make people uncomfortable. Police questioned him extensively. Eventually he was removed again, this time permanently, at least from our terminal. Several months later, I thought the entire situation was behind me. Then another security officer showed me something. A report from a different bus terminal. Different state, different city, same man, standing beside a vending machine, watching travelers. That realization genuinely unsettled me, because it meant the behavior wasn't random. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a one-time incident. The man had apparently spent years drifting from terminal to terminal, observing strangers, studying routines, watching people who would likely never see him again. To this day, I don't know what his ultimate goal was. Maybe nothing criminal. Maybe something far worse. I honestly don't know. But I know one thing. Every complaint started at a vending machine. Because vending machines give people a reason to stop moving, to stand still, to become distracted. And apparently, that's exactly what he wanted. Sometimes people ask why the story still bothers me. The answer is simple. Because if he had been aggressive, everyone would have noticed immediately. If he'd been threatening, police would have intervened sooner. Instead, he blended in perfectly. A quiet man standing near a vending machine. Someone nobody paid attention to, until they realized he was paying attention to them.